Now when I see him, when I see all of the things that he's done, all the things he's accomplished, he graduated high school, he taught himself how to do graphic design, he taught himself how to blog. It's like everything that he does, he doesn't set any limits on himself. And
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Sai here with another Handicap Heist episode today for y'all. And today I got a special guest today featuring
his mother,
Bob. And today's episode is gonna be what was it like having a son who was born with a physical difference. And this is from a mother's perspective, and my mom has raised me with kindness, empathy, inclusiveness, and she's gonna be able to give her perspective. And yeah, introduce yourself, Mom.
Hello. So I'm his mom, Sonia, and I don't know why. As soon as the camera started recording, I instantly got so nervous, like I'm on the news or something. So please don't mind me if I stutter or if I forget my thoughts. So I'm new to being on camera, but yes, I'm the mother of Cyree, and just to give a little bit of backstory, when he was first born, well, actually when I was pregnant, I had a normal pregnancy. I didn't have any problems, any complications. All the time I was going to the doctor when I was getting sonograms, etc. They didn't see anything that was, you know, unordinary or not normal. He was growing just fine. And so when he was born, it was a total surprise that he was born. And he was born with Vater syndrome. Vater syndrome is also known as vascular association. It's a complex condition that affects several parts of the body. Vater is an acronym that stands for the affected parts of the body, including the vertebrae, the anus, the heart, the trachea, the esophagus, kidney, and limbs. And so when Cyree was born, he was born with what we call, or what the medical term is, an imperforated anus, which means he was not able to have a normal bowel like most newborns would. And his anal was like the size of an ink pen dot. That's how tiny it was. And so they had to go and create, you know, a bottom part for him so that he would be able to use the restroom. And he was also born with a tethered cord, and that means that his spine was fused together as well, and that's an association with Vater syndrome as well. And so he had to have surgery on that. And then as you can see, he's also missing the radius bone, and he has 3 limbs on his right hand. And so as a result of that, he was just automatically a left-handed, you know, young boy. And so on his left hand, his thumb was what they call non-functional. And they also tried to do surgery on his thumb to see if it would be like a little bit more useful, like how I can move my thumb up and down, but unfortunately the surgery wasn't successful. It would sometimes cause him to like get short of breath as well too. And then also his left lung was not 100%. It was like maybe 90%. So it wasn't a full 100% lung like, you know, like most newborns or like you and I would have. So that also caused him to always have breathing problems, to be sick. He had asthma. He was in and out of the hospital. He had a lot of surgeries when he was a little boy, like from the time he was like newborn to 1. I think he had about 5 surgeries, you know, during that 12-month span. So as soon as he was born, just to go back, like, you know, I was in labor like I think 16 hours or something. So as soon as I gave birth, everybody just left me on the table. And his dad, I just remember his dad saying, "Oh my God, what's going on?" And they just all went over, you know, how the newborn comes out and they put him in the little incubator. It was like 10 doctors and everybody was just coming from all over. And I didn't know what was going on. So I was like thinking to myself, what the hell? So anyway, they came and took care of me, did all the stuff that they do for new moms and everything. And then they finally told me, you know, what my son had, what they thought he had. They said it could be a bunch of different things, but we think it's Vater syndrome. And so he was born at one hospital in San Francisco, and then he was immediately transferred to UCSF. So he was in the hospital about 3 weeks, and it was just the most trying time. And you're not prepared as a new parent to be able to be equipped and to take care of a child who's what they consider to be special needs, or as society deems it, to be born with a disability. And so I just was like, he's my son, he's my baby, and I just, you know, that motherly instinct just kicked in, and I just took care of him like you would any other kid. And the first surgery that he had was to fix his anal, and it was done by Dr. Michael Harrison at UCSF. And I was so nervous, and they were like, well, you know, we don't know if it's gonna work. We don't know if he's gonna be able to go to the bathroom or have a normal bowel like most kids, but at least he'll still be able to go to the bathroom. He just might not have the muscle control, which doesn't have the muscle control. So they were like, he might have to wear undergarments for the rest of his life. And I was like, that's fine, as long he's here, he's healthy, so that's all that matters. So he had that surgery, and then he had a colostomy bag for about 2 weeks. And then, no, I'm sorry, he had a colostomy bag for a couple of months. And then when he came home, we had to use like suppositories to kind of see if we could build that muscle up. And so we started off with small ones, and then they increased gradually and gradually and gradually, just to see if the muscle would kind of retract and he would be able to use it. But unfortunately that wasn't successful. So we just knew that he would just be, you know, a kid that would just wear undergarments, but that doesn't mean that it was going to stop him from being able to do anything he wanted to do. He also had the tethered cord surgery, and that was done by Dr. Gupta at UCSF. I don't know his first name, but a wonderful neurosurgeon. And I remember him telling me that there's a possibility it could affect his walking later on, because we're not going to know, because he was still little. Remember, he had this surgery before he was 12 months. So they were like, there's a possibility he might not be able to walk, but we have to unfuse his spine, otherwise he's not going to be able to grow. You know, it'll stunt his growth. And so I was nervous about that, but he had the surgery. It was successful. And then also, Cyree has some mild scoliosis. So as a result of the Vater syndrome, it does affect all of the, like many of the bones in the body. So he has a little bit of curvature in his spine.
And I had to wear that brace.
And he also, when he came home after a couple of months of getting all the major surgeries out of the way, he had to wear he had to get fitted for a back brace. So can you imagine a little baby having to sleep in this tight, constricted brace every night? He just went through so much. And even when he was a little baby, I just was sometimes amazed at all of the things that he had to endure. And he just was still doing it with a smile, even as a newborn baby. But and then also with the Vater syndrome, as a result of having the asthma, he was always getting pneumonia. He had pneumonia, I don't want to exaggerate, maybe like 8 or 9 times as a young kid. He was hospitalized for the asthma and pneumonia maybe 5 or 6 times. And one time he was hospitalized for like 8 days. He was so out of breath that even trying to eat or drink, he would just be labored with his breathing. And I was like, oh my God. And I used to ask the doctors, is he ever going to grow out of this? You know, he had to repeat kindergarten as a result of being in and out of the hospital so much, just because of all the complications associated with Vater. And so now when I see him, when I see all of the things that he's done, all the things he's accomplished, he graduated high school, he taught himself how to do graphic design, he taught himself how to blog. It's like everything that he does, he doesn't set any limits on himself. And that's also as a result of just me being the kind of parent to say, even though I know he did have a difference and he is somebody who lives with a disability, but that doesn't mean he's disabled. And so it just never occurred to me to raise him or to treat him like that. It never occurred to me to say, oh, you can't do this or you can't do that. He's a little boy and he's gonna get out there and play. He's gonna fall, he's gonna scrape his knees, he's gonna get on the skateboard, he's gonna ride his bike, he's gonna fall, he's gonna bump his head, he's gonna do everything else all the other kids did. So
we have fun on Shafter too.
Yes.
So many firefighters.
And I think it's important for parents that are raising children who have special needs to not put them in a box or not treat them any differently than other kids, because I feel like you limit their ability to be able to be successful and do things and try things in life, right? If I would have been one of those parents to say, oh no, Sai, you can't ride the bike, or oh no, you might fall, or no, you can't do this because you might hurt your arm. Even though I thought sometimes in the back of my mind, oh my God, I don't want my son to fall on that bike and he hurt his arm. But I had to get that out of my mind, because if I have that kind of thought, then I'm going to have that kind of behavior and it's going to affect my baby. So I didn't want that. And also,
We had a wonderful childhood. I'm very thankful. I
you
love my
know,
childhood. Thank
with
you.
him living with Barter syndrome, kids were so mean and so cruel. And so he had to catch the school bus by himself, but I guess she was catching the bus with her kids every day too, and so they started like talking, and you know, when they would get on the bus, they would be having a conversation, and she was like, he's so mild-mannered and so respectful. She said, out of all the kids that catch the bus, they cuss, they say the B word, they say the N word, and they're just like rambunctious and, you know, just kind of, you know, not good kids and just doing things that their parents wouldn't be proud of. She said, but I've never heard him say one cuss word. She said he is so respectful and so kind and so thoughtful. And I've heard that from a few teachers before, a few parents, just from being out, because we caught the bus everywhere in San Francisco. I had a bucket here and break down. I had to get another bucket and get back on the bus. Yeah, I had a 19, like 84, like Toyota Corolla, we call it Big Bird. So, you know, catching the bus, you run into all kind of people, but I was just a blessing to be able to have people come and tell me the kind of son that I'm raising. And I just always wanted to teach them what it means to be a young man, what it means to respect yourself first and foremost, to respect women secondly, and to respect elders and just to respect everybody, right?
She always used to make us sit down and watch First 48, talking about some sit down and watch, listen.
First 48 is one of my favorite TV shows, and I just think it shows a lot about how the world is, how society is. I think it teaches you sometimes to really know about relationships and friendships and who's your friend, who's not your friend, and if people are jealous or hateful or things like that. And so when they were young and growing up, when it was a show about friendships and, you know, young men like going against their friends or doing things, I'd be like, come in here and sit down and watch this, because I need you to know about like what life is like and what it's like really out there. You know, sometimes everybody isn't your friend, but for the most part, I'm really proud of the young man he's become. And I just want to say to other parents that, can I say something?
Yeah, just say it.
And one thing that I really do, in hindsight, wish that I would have probably paid a little bit more attention to. You know, sometimes when your kids are doing stuff, when your kids are in school, right, and they're coming home and they're playing, you see them as a happy-go-lucky kid, right? But sometimes they might be suffering in silence. And there were some times when Cyree was getting bullied, and some of the things I didn't know, right? Because he didn't want to tell me, because he knew
I didn't want her to be worried, yeah.
I'm coming to the school.
And I wanted her to be, but she did one time in the house though. Well, that's because I did something and I was just being bad, and she told me if I ever messed up, she was going to embarrass me, and she came to the school. In her house color, everybody was like, "Sorry, mom was here," and I was like, "What color hair is she got?" It was like, "It's purple." And as soon as they said purple, I was like, "I knew she here."
Yeah, and I used to go to the school a lot because, you know, things would happen. He'd get in a fight, and one thing he did, I told him, I don't care what happens in life, you have a right to stand up for yourself. I didn't teach my kids to fight. My thing was, I taught them if somebody is picking on you, if somebody hits you, you first tell them to stop. You go and tell an adult or a teacher or somebody in charge. If they come back and they hit you again, then you better protect yourself. And so he was in trouble as a result of that, because I don't know, nobody is just going to come up to you and just be hitting you. You can protect yourself, but before that, you better go tell somebody, because you better not be hitting nobody just out of the blue on your own, right? So I was at the school constantly as a result of that. But for the most part, I think he had, you know, as best of a childhood as he could, and I just tried to make it as fun as I could. And you know, he has a brother too, and so, you know, I just remember sometimes in our front yard in our house, it was bikes and scooters and what you call those things that you get on and you jump on?
Those little, what do you call it?
The little
scooter.
They got like the two little things, and you stand on it and they jump and bounce around. They had so many of those. Pogo sticks. They had scooters, skateboard, the regular skateboard, the zigzag skateboard. You name it, they had
so much that sometimes the firefighters, they would even join in.
Yes, they had footballs, basketballs. They used to play outside so much they busted my window, my front window, and then took off running down the street. For the most part, I think that, you know, he turned out pretty well. I'm thankful. I'm actually blessed because we live in San Francisco, and you know, it's a whole lot of young men his age who don't make it to even see 18. They don't make it to see 20. Sorry, tell me stuff. I'm like, oh my God, really? And sometimes I've even started to cry, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know. Why you didn't tell me? We would just be out all day. It was just something that we look forward to, like a big celebration for them. And so when he was like, oh, I want to go to the military, as a kid, I didn't, that's why when I was telling you guys as parents to just ask more questions with your kids, you know, make sure that you're asking open-ended questions so you can kind of get more insight as to what's really going on. So in my mind as a mom, I didn't really have the hindsight in my heart. I didn't really know that he was really hungry to go to the military, that it was something that was like in his soul that he really wanted to do when he turned 18. I just was thinking he liked the planes and the Navy and stuff like that, but it never occurred to me that that was something like in his heart and soul that he really wanted to do. And then once he turned 18 and we had like some real deep conversations, that was something that hurt me to my core when he told me that. And I was like, oh my God, how did I miss that? But that's something that as parents, we don't see everything, and we don't.
I think everything happens for a reason though.
I do think everything happens for a reason too, but I just think that there's things that as parents that sometimes we might not pay much attention to that we should. And and when he told me that, it just made me think like, I wish that I would have paid more attention back then. And then maybe when he was like in 7th or 8th grade and I realized, oh, this is what he really want to do, maybe I could have went to go talk to the military, or to, you know, maybe there's things that I could have did. I could have went to go talk to Congress or to our representatives in our neighborhood or something. You know, maybe there's things that I could have done to say, okay, maybe they would have told me, well, he can't go to the military, but when he gets 18, have him come back and maybe we can hire him to do A, B, C, and D. But I didn't know that that was like his true core, what he really wanted to do. So that's what I mean when I say, as parents, please ask your kids important questions and just pay attention, because you might miss something, because that is one thing that still touches me to my core. No, it does. It still touches me to my core thing, but I hope that my story and what I'm saying will resonate with someone else. And if you see your little boys who you might know, okay, well, I know my son has A, B, C, and D, and he's not going to be able to go to the military, but let me see what other things I can do. And you can just start asking those questions so that you can kind of maybe reroute them or direct them in a different area and say, okay, well, son, you know what? I know this is what you really want to do, but unfortunately, as a result of this medical thing that you have, you can't do that. And so that way you can kind of start working on getting their mindset to do something else, you know, instead of them being let down when they become an adult and realizing, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to go to the military. So that for me was heartbreaking for me as a mom, you know, and I'm sure.
And as a son, it's even more heartbreaking too as well, because you want to be able to, you know, have your legacy, take care of your family, your mom, if she needs this, you can provide that for her. So since I couldn't be able to go to the military, like, okay, dang, how am I going to be able to provide for myself and my family too as well?
Yeah. So
it was just like, dang, not only am I getting crushed, but they is too as well, because whatever I receive, they're going to receive too as well. So I was just like, dang.
Yeah.